Today, we are excited to welcome Sara Greicius. Sara, a Bay Village native, jumps at opportunities to help others feel at home in Cleveland. In 2022, she became the first director of the Cleveland Talent Alliance, where she facilitates collaboration among 14 public, private, and nonprofit organizations dedicated to attracting and retaining talent in Greater Cleveland. And CLC is proud to be one of those partners. Her previous work in international admissions allowed her to see the world. As passionate as she is about global travel, Sara values the worldly experiences found right here in the land, exploring shops, cafes, and art in different neighborhoods, and relaxing by the lake with family and fellow Clevelanders. And we are proud to have her as a graduate of our Civic Leadership Institute last fall 2025. Please welcome Sara.
Thank you, Rachel. Thanks, everyone. Are we ready to dive in? Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And I will preface this all by saying it is lunchtime at the office, and so you may see exciting chit chat and hear some chatter around me. I apologize. Okay, is everyone able to see this? Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again, and thank you to Cleveland Leadership Center for having me join this leader lunch break this afternoon. I'm super excited to be with everyone to provide an update on the Cleveland Talent Alliance effort, of which the Leadership Center is a key partner in that, and to get ideas and questions from this group as well as to where this work can head in the future. So, the Cleveland Talent Alliance has been around for about 4 years now, a little longer than that, around shortly after the pandemic. Various organizations in Cleveland's economic development landscape were coming together, recognizing that they were all getting questions from area employers around how they could help both retain and attract new bachelor's degreed talent to the greater Cleveland region. And very quickly, all of those organizations across that economic development landscape realized that they each had a role to play in talent attraction and retention. And rather than working in silos as they had sort of historically done, it was really time to do that work together in lockstep. So the Cleveland Talent Alliance was formed in order to keep this momentum going and these organizations all working collectively for a greater purpose. But also, very quickly, those same organizations recognized that it was rather challenging to keep the work going across so many unique organizations. And so they needed a cat herder to keep the work moving forward. I am said cat herder and have been herding the cats around Northeast Ohio for the last several years, which has been a tremendously fun and rewarding work. No day is the same, and I get to spend time with all kinds of different people, different organizations, lifelong Clevelanders, people who have recently moved here, and really understand what makes our place such an amazing destination and how we can spread that word far and wide so that more people decide to move here. So, with that, a little bit more about the Cleveland Talent Alliance and how it came to be. When I started in 2022, I came onto the scene with this mission in mind, and that is simple. And as I said, to grow Greater Cleveland's population by increasing the number of working age adults in Northeast Ohio and also retaining working age adults that live in Northeast Ohio. From there, we worked on this collective vision, which states that the Cleveland region will become one of the fastest growing, most diverse, inclusive, and welcoming areas in the Midwest by 2030. And we'll do that by creating this seamless and coordinated system that is able to do all of these things you see listed here. So, identify the appropriate talent that is most likely to consider life in Cleveland, proactively attract them here or keep them here, navigate them through their relocation and hiring process, and then ultimately engage them and welcome them so that they're immediately immersed into the community and feel at home. And the long-term play there is that they stay and that they're retained. These are our current Cleveland Talent Alliance partners, and that has grown slightly from our early days in 2022, where we started with 11 partners and we're now up to 14. And we have many partners that aren't visible on this slide, but these are really the 14 or so organizations that strategize with me day in and day out about how we as a region can better attract and retain. So they're dedicating both human power, financial, their time, their programming to this effort so that we can all be rowing in the same direction, singing from the same songbook about what it's like to live and work in Cleveland. And so you'll see organizations represented like Cleveland Leadership Center to Destination Cleveland, GCP, Team Neo, but then we also have city, county, and state representation as well to ensure that this work doesn't just start and stop in region. It's expanding beyond the county lines and into the state of Ohio so that work happening at that level is also trickling back down to Northeast Ohio and vice versa. And then a variety of partners that span anywhere within that spectrum, some catering to international newcomers, young professionals, manufacturing talent, you name it. And then across those 14 partners, 4 years ago, we collectively agreed on these two overarching strategies that you see here to get our work up and off the ground. And these strategies also stemmed from what I always say was a whirlwind listening and learning tour across the greater Cleveland community. So, focus groups with hiring employers, HR professionals, again, people who had recently relocated themselves, boomerang talent, lifelong Clevelanders, to really understand what does the community need from a collaborative like this, and then where can we match those needs with what all of our organizations are capable of doing. So what came out of that was first and foremost to improve perceptions of Greater Cleveland as a place to live and work. Destination Cleveland is largely responsible for this particular strategy as they've been doing this work for decades, albeit on the visitation and tourism side to make Cleveland a great place to visit. But we also knew through research that it really starts with a visit to get someone to consider a relocation. So when people visit our destination, they're twice as likely to consider a move. And when people visit our destination and have some knowledge of tourism marketing, they're 3 times as likely to consider a relocation to the greater Cleveland region. So there's all the reason in the world to be leveraging the marketing expertise that Destination Cleveland has at their fingertips. So in that lane, we're really focused on leveraging the various meetings, conventions, and leisure travel points that millions of people are coming to Cleveland every year to participate in. And how can we get in front of that visitor audience and start to sprinkle the breadcrumbs about what it may be like to live and work here? We do have a metric around that, and every 2 years we ask an out-of-market survey group, if you were given the opportunity to relocate to Greater Cleveland, would you? Our goal is by 2030 to get to 46% of out-of-region folks saying that yes, they would be willing to consider a move to Cleveland. To put a little more context around that, that is Nashville's current percentage. I don't know about you all, but I would have thought Nashville was much higher. But that was really eye-opening to know that's kind of the gold standard is that around 46% of people are willing to say yes to any given destination. We started at 42% in 2023, and so working our way up between now and 2030. On the other side of our work, it's all around retaining the skilled talent that we have here in Greater Cleveland, particularly those who have graduated from one of our Northeast Ohio colleges and institutions. So we also heard in that whirlwind listening tour that our college students are well acclimated to their campus, be it Cleveland State to Kent State, but rarely do they get the opportunity to explore Greater Cleveland as a place to live and work. And instead, they're being shown internships in Chicago, in Nashville, in New York City, etc. But we have all of those opportunities right here. So we're laser focused on getting our college students out and about off campus, experiencing downtown Cleveland, our suburbs, our neighborhoods, our lakefront, for all that it has to offer, so they can really start to envision themselves as a recent graduate and as a young professional. And again, we know from research that is what creates that stickiness factor for students who are kind of seen as transient residents of a destination. We also are working really hard on creating more professional pathways for those students. So, leveraging all of the various opportunities across our Talent Alliance partners, like Cleveland Leadership Center or Engage Cleveland or Global Cleveland, and ensuring that our college students and interns coming through our destination are well aware of all of the various civic and professional development opportunities that they have right here in the region. The metric that we have around college retention is to retain 55% of our area college students between now and 2030. Oh, am I frozen? Can everyone still? Okay. I'm
You're good.
frozen on my end, so I won't look at myself. But trying to retain 55% of our graduates by 2030. Again, in 2022, we were at the 47% mark, and we knew that peer cities, competitor cities that are really dense with institutions of higher education like we are retaining 55% of their graduates. And to further put that into perspective, if we are to meet that mark by 2030, that's around 14,000 to 16,000 new young people entering our workforce or leaving our workforce if they're graduating and going to work elsewhere. So it really makes a dent in Greater Cleveland's population if we do a better job on retaining college students alone. I wanted to share some other key focus areas that we've introduced to the Talent Alliance in 2026, just in case all of you joining us today are interested in learning more or getting involved. We are really keen on spreading the word across various networks in Greater Cleveland. So we are also focused this year not just on perceptions changing and college student retention, but really engaging our CTA partners on a daily basis beyond just strategizing our annual work plans. But how are we all working together to spread the word, to understand each other, and really get a better understanding of the role we each have to play in this giant, very heavy lift of an effort. In the same vein, we are working tirelessly to spread the word to Northeast Ohio employers so that they know this effort exists. And it exists primarily to support their needs for recruitment and retention. So if you are an employer listening to this or you know employers in your network, please help us spread the word that the Cleveland Talent Alliance is here and that we're not reinventing the wheel, we're instead leveraging a lot of the work that is already happening in our community. And then a couple of things I'm most excited about this year is that we've really spent the last 4 years building this foundation, this sink, we always refer to it as, so that we can now turn on the faucet. And that sink is built to catch the water. The faucet in this case being some proactive promotion out of region of Cleveland as a place to live and work so that we can start generating leads who want to consider a life in Cleveland. And then at the same time, how are we nurturing those leads once they're in our funnel and pointing them to various support organizations, resources, actual locals to help handhold them through their relocation process. So just wanted to point out those four kind of new areas of focus for the Talent Alliance this year. I won't spend too much time on this, but This is a really helpful funnel to think about how we're generating awareness of Cleveland as a place to live and work. And then they move through this funnel and it gets smaller and smaller until they ultimately relocate. But each of our Cleveland Talent Alliance partners has a role to play in one of these phases of the funnel, if not all of them. And chances are, as a viewer today, you have a role to play throughout this funnel as well. So think about how you may show up in your day to day or in your personal life and be contributing to people choosing Cleveland as a place to live and work with this funnel in mind. This is also a fun slide just to think about how people get their information for a relocation. And again, it points to that idea that it all starts with a visit. So always be cognizant of who you are interacting with on the street. Could be someone brand new to Cleveland, just passing through to go to a concert or to a conference, but they are probably starting to see, I could envision myself in Cleveland. And so having those people to people interactions, boots on the ground, matter tremendously. And we know it makes a huge impact on people's decisions to move. Then I wanted to review a couple of key recruitment and retention tools that the Talent Alliance has built together, starting with our Move to Cleveland page. This is our one-stop shop of content about living and working in the region. So Joe from Indianapolis or Sally from Sacramento can fill out this form and learn more about living and working in Cleveland. So if you have family, friends, students studying away, feel free to send this form to them and we can kind of keep them in the funnel and encourage a relocation to Greater Cleveland. We also have our resident ambassador program. This is a group of 32 locals who have relocated themselves and are wanting to pay it forward. And so we can set up potential movers or recent relocators with their first friend in Cleveland via this resident ambassador program. And you're welcome to sign up to be a resident ambassador if that sounds like something you'd like to participate in. And then this is our talent recruitment toolkit for employers and hiring professionals. So this is that one-stop shop for those in the hiring space. It links to that Move to Cleveland site, our resident ambassador program, and then all kinds of tools that we have pulled together across our partner organizations to help you present during recruitment travel or canned language that you can utilize in your own communication journeys with talent. And that's all listed on this toolkit. And we'll send links to all of this information after today's lunch, but wanted to give it a quick shout out. And then finally, what we are most focused on right now with summer rapidly approaching is a comprehensive summer in the land. So I mentioned that we're not reinventing the wheel, but instead leveraging all kinds of things that have existed in our community for years. And that really came to us once we understood the breadth of programming and immersive experiences that exist across a variety of our civic partners. So this year we have three really major events happening across the summer. With a final kind of ongoing opportunity that exists throughout the year. But it's all going to kick off in June with Engage Cleveland's Young Professional Week. That is a week with around 30 events, Monday through Saturday, I believe it is. And it ranges from free to some paid experiences with professional development, leadership development, also just fun things like yoga or getting out and about in Cleveland's outdoor scene. So definitely check that out as a young professional or if you have YPs in your life. Then next up in June will be Campus Cleveland. So Cleveland Leadership Center's program for college students and interns who are in the greater Cleveland region during the summer months. So this starts with a full day of leadership development and immersing students in greater Cleveland's civic landscape on June 12th. And then there are additional days throughout the summer that get interns and college students out and about experiencing Cleveland. And then we'll kind of culminate the month of June with our Cleveland Talent Alliance signature event, which is called Summer in the Land. This is just a giant party for interns at the Guardians game on June 30th. We have space reserved for 1,500 students, but if we need to move beyond that, which it's looking like we will, we'll figure out a way to accommodate more students. But this is an example of one of those ways to get students out and about experiencing all of the social kind of quality of life attributes that are available in Northeast Ohio and a way for them to meet one another. But they can start, at the top of June with YP Week, then Campus Cleveland, and celebrate a wild month together at the Guardians game at the end of the month. And then we also have our Land and Clee experiences for colleges and universities. That is for both local institutions and those out of region who maybe want to bring 20, 30 plus students to the greater Cleveland region and meet with employers, go on a neighborhood tour, experience the outdoors, whatever the case may be. But we respond to requests on an ad hoc basis on behalf of the Cleveland Talent Alliance, and we pull our various partners together to see, who has the expertise based on the university's particular request for their students. So those opportunities are always available as well if you or anyone in your network might be interested in that. And then I'll just leave this up here for a minute. That's my contact information, and the QR code goes to that Move to Cleveland landing page. So please don't hesitate to reach out with ideas, questions, thoughts on how you can get involved or spread the word. And just keep sharing our Move to Cleveland content far and wide so that we can see our population growing and growing. Thank you, everyone.
Sarah, thank you so much. Let's build off of the events for the summer. Engaging college students while they're home for the summer is such an important part of showing them all that Cleveland has to offer. And these events have been being hosted over the past few years. What sort of traction have you seen or any great success stories you can share?
Yes. So the summer for college students has been tremendously successful from day one in the Talent Alliance, and it really stemmed from employers saying, we have this small pocket of interns, but we don't really know how to get them out and about. Or another employer saying, we only have one intern. How can I get them to meet more young people? And the answer was not to create something new, but to band together and spread the word on all of these outstanding programs that already exist. We did end up creating the Summer in the Land night at the Guardians game simply because our list kept growing and growing and growing, and there was no.
Sarah, if you can hear me, I do believe you did freeze this time. So we'll give a moment here and see if your video will come back. All
Space
right.
big enough to hold all of, not just one day or one moment. Oh, am I frozen this
You
time?
did freeze up, but we got you back.
Oh, okay. But what's most exciting there is that we see a lot of repeat attendees. And I'm not talking just local Cleveland students, but students who are coming from out of state to intern again in Greater Cleveland and go through our partners' programming so that they can further immerse themselves in the region. So it's proven really successful.
Sarah, as you look to other communities, who is doing a really great job with the retention of their college and university students, and what can we learn from them?
Yes. So Philadelphia really started as our North Star. They have a program called Campus Philly. And they started that initiative about 20, 25 years ago, where they were looking at a similar metric in that Philly is full of institutions of higher education, but as a region, they were only keeping about 20% of students going through their schools after graduation and missing out on thousands and thousands of young people entering their workforce. So they started a similar initiative to just pull students off of their campus and experience the community as opposed to just the institution and connected them to both social, professional, and civic opportunities, creating that stickiness factor. And they're now that gold star 55% benchmark. Um, so we really look to Philly for a lot of things. I've also met with smaller communities like Flint, Michigan, Reading, Pennsylvania. Um, a lot of communities are starting to recognize the benefit of keeping so many young people in their region and the fact that they are being told to go spread your wings in New York City and LA when they have those same opportunities and probably a better quality of life right in their backyard. So we do go to a couple of conferences throughout the year to meet with those communities, and everyone is very forthcoming about sharing their challenges and successes. So we've learned a lot from them as well.
What efforts might there be around engaging international students, which is a big part of the college life here in Cleveland?
Absolutely. So we're lucky to have Global Cleveland as a Talent Alliance partner in all of this, and they are tirelessly working to educate employers, universities, actual college students how we can better keep our international students here, whether that is through training on the H-1B hiring process or creating career fairs specific to international students in the community. But what we do with the Cleveland Talent Alliance is anytime we're at a career fair or a campus experience, we are sure to have that Global Cleveland contact information on us so that we can point our international students to their best support service in the region.
So, and we know collaboration across organizations, cross sectors is absolutely critical for addressing kind of the big challenges in our community. Talent attraction and retention is certainly one of those, but it can be really hard. And as you called yourself the cat herder earlier, I would love to know, Sarah, what are some lessons learned along the way in building this collaboration across organizations?
Love that. So, the biggest lesson I've learned, and it's a quote I heard from kind of a mentor that I was introduced to, is that collaboration moves at the speed of trust. So we can all come to the table saying, we're here to collaborate, and we say that on paper and then disperse, and nothing really gets done. So, yes, we want to see our population skyrocket. It's not going to be overnight success. And the same goes with collaboration. It is a long game. I have taken it upon myself to do more listening than speaking in as many scenarios as possible. And just coming to the table with the mentality that this Cleveland Talent Alliance initiative in particular, it is not for any one organization. It is for the region's benefit as a whole. And if I can serve as sort of that middleman across all of these large, important organizations, then I am happy to do so. But really working hard on establishing trust and just coming at all of this from a humanistic angle, and becoming friends with the people that we work with has been super key.
So, as you continue your work, what support do you need from those of us on the call today?
My biggest request for support would simply be to spread the message that the Cleveland Talent Alliance exists and that Cleveland is an amazing destination to call home, to live in, to work in, to play, and to thrive. It's really our residents that are so crucial in spreading that message. And if you want some formalized ways to help spread that message, we've got all kinds of tools for you to do that as well. So do not hesitate to reach out to me.
Well, Sarah, we thank you for all that you are doing to build this much needed collaboration and help everyone realize what we all do who live here in Cleveland, that Cleveland absolutely is a place to work, live, and play.
Yes. Thank you, Rachel, and thank you everyone for joining. I hope I get to chat with some of you individually.